Welcome to Global Campus, France's Grandes Écoles versus universities, the system that manufactures leadership. Imagine two students in France. Both are intelligent, both are ambitious, both graduate from secondary school in the same year. They walk toward two doors. The first door is wide. Above it is written university. Behind it are 1.7 million students. The second door is narrow. Above it is written Grandes Écoles. Behind it are fewer than 200,000 students. But behind that narrow door, something unusual happens. That door has produced French presidents, prime ministers, CAC 40 corporate leaders, and in many ways, the architects of the French state itself. This is not accidental. France did not build one higher education system, it built two. One to educate the population and one to produce leadership. To understand why, we need to begin with something most people don't realize. France's universities were never designed to be elite gateways. They were designed to be a public right. France's public universities include institutions such as Sorbonne University, University of Paris, University of Strasbourg, Aix-Marseille University, University of Lyon. These are some of the largest and most historically significant academic institutions in Europe. But structurally, France's university system operates under a very different philosophy from the UK or the US. In France, university access is based on one core condition: passing the baccalaureate. There is no elite selection at entry in the same way you'd see in the US or UK. That single design choice changes everything because it means universities are built for scale. Typical university size ranges between 20,000 to 70,000 students. They are mass education institutions, and the tuition cost makes the philosophy obvious. Typical annual tuition is about 170 to 380 euros per year for domestic or EU students. This is not the real cost. It's heavily subsidized by the French government. The actual cost per student is far higher, and the state covers most of it. The point is simple. In France, education is treated as a public right, not a luxury product. And the university system produces something essential: researchers, academics, doctors, lawyers, scientists. France's universities are vital to the intellectual and scientific production. But here is the critical distinction. They are not the primary route to national leadership. That route sits behind the second door. Now let's rewind. Before the French Revolution, France's universities were among the oldest in Europe. The University of Paris, founded around 1150, trained scholars, clergy, and philosophers. But by the late 1700s, France faced a new type of national pressure. War required engineers, infrastructure required technical expertise, administration required competent state officials. Universities were not designed to produce these people. They were designed to produce scholars. So in 1793, during the French Revolution, France did something extraordinary. It abolished its universities. Not reformed, abolished. The revolutionary government believed the universities were too connected to the old order, too traditional, too slow, too tied to monarchy-era structures. Instead of patching them, France built something new. And in doing so, it created a blueprint for elite formation that would last centuries. In 1794, France created École Polytechnique. Its mission was clear: train engineers for the state, train technical experts for the military, train individuals who could build and operate the modern nation. Admission was based on competitive examination, not wealth, not family name, not political connections, only performance. This is the birth of the Grande École model, a small institution, highly selective, closely aligned with state needs, designed to manufacture capability and then place it into power. Between 1806 and 1808, Napoleon Bonaparte formalized what the revolution started. He created two parallel educational structures, universities and Grandes Écoles. They were designed for completely different purposes. Universities would educate the population at scale. Grandes Écoles would select and train a small elite. Napoleon's objective wasn't hidden. He wanted a controlled pipeline of leadership aligned with the state. From that moment forward, France would never rely on universities alone to produce its leaders. The modern system. How many attempt the elite pathway? Now let's bring this system into the present. Each year, approximately 700,000 students graduate from French secondary school. This is the total pool eligible for higher education. Most enter universities, but approximately 85,000 students, around 12%, enter a specialized route called classes préparatoires. These preparatory classes typically last 2 years. Students study intensely, often more than 60 hours per week. Many don't complete the process. Approximately 75,000 remain to sit the final entrance examinations. Of those, about 40,000 are admitted into some form of Grande École, but the most elite institutions admit only about 5,000 students per year from an original population of 700,000, less than 1%. This is the selection pyramid that produces France's elite. Here, the system reveals something unexpected. Grandes Écoles are publicly funded, just like universities, but the state invests more per elite student. For a typical university student, the state spends approximately 10 to 14,000 euros per year. For Grandes Écoles students, the state spends between 15 to 30,000 euros per year. At École Polytechnique, it exceeds 30,000 euros per year. Students themselves pay relatively little. At Polytechnic, tuition is about 3,800 per year. At certain elite administrative schools, students pay nothing. In fact, some are paid. At École Normale Supérieure, students receive approximately 1,300 per month. At ENA, now replaced by the Institut National du Service Public, students receive approximately 1,500 per month. They are not paying to be educated, they are being paid to prepare to govern. That's the structural truth. France funds its elite training system the way other countries fund a public service pipeline. Let's examine the timeline to authority. How quickly do they rise? Now we reach the heart of manufactured leadership. In France, graduates of the top Grande École often enter positions of real authority much faster, sometimes immediately, because the schools are integrated into recruitment pipelines. But the timeline depends on the kind of authority. The first type of authority, the civil service authority. Graduates of ENA historically entered elite administrative corps immediately upon graduation, including Inspection des Finances, Conseil d'État, Cour des Comptes. These institutions sit close to the engine room of the state. Graduates could influence national policy within their 20s. The second one, corporate authority. Graduates of Polytechnic, HEC, and Mines Paris often enter leadership track roles early. A typical timeline looks like this. Age 23 to 25, graduate. Age 30 to 40, senior management. Age 40 to 55, CEO or executive leadership. Another authority is a political authority. Political leadership varies more, but the pathway still accelerates access. For example, Emmanuel Macron graduated from ENA at 27, was working in an elite state financial inspection by 31, and became president by 39. That is not a normal political timeline. That is a pipeline timeline. Now we see what the system produces. Since 1958, France has had 8 presidents. 7 attended at least one Grande École. Charles de Gaulle, Saint-Cyr, Georges Pompidou, École Normale Supérieure, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, École Polytechnique and ENA, Jacques Chirac, ENA, François Hollande, ENA, Emmanuel Macron, ENA. Only one president did not attend a Grande École, Nicolas Sarkozy. Prime ministers show similar patterns, especially with ENA graduates. These graduates became known as les énoques. And corporate leadership mirrors the same structure. Over 60% of CAC 40 CEOs attended a Grande École. Leadership is not legally restricted, but structurally concentrated. Every major Western country has elite institutions. USA, Ivy League. UK, Russell Group or Oxbridge. France, Grande École. But France is different. In the US and UK, elite universities are still universities. In France, elite institutions exist outside universities. It is a separate system. France separated elite formation from mass education. Grande Écoles have produced foreign leaders and global figures. But compared to institutions like Oxford, Harvard, or the Sorbonne, their global political footprint is more geographically concentrated. But because the system was designed primarily to produce French state leadership and French corporate leadership, so where is the influence strongest? France, extremely dominant. Francophone Africa, very strong. European corporate leadership, strong. And where is it less influential? US political leadership, UK political leadership, Asian political leadership. So yes, there is international reach, but the system is still fundamentally shaped around France itself. Now you might ask this question, why didn't France just make universities elite? France could have attempted to make universities elite. Other countries did. Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. France chose a different engineering solution. It designed universities for scale, mass access, public right, large student populations, scientific and intellectual production, and it designed Grande École for selection, small cohorts, entrance examinations, elite recruitment pipelines, accelerated access to authority. France did not fail to build elite universities. It built elite institutions alongside universities so it could run mass education and elite formation simultaneously. Is it possible to lead France without a Grande École? Yes, but uncommon. The system does not forbid outsiders. It simply produces insiders more efficiently. Grande École graduates gain access to elite core, government networks, and corporate leadership pipelines. That accelerates their trajectory. Others can still rise, but without the structural advantages. In 2021, President Emmanuel Macron abolished ENA. He replaced it with the Institut National du Service Public. The reform responded to criticism that the ENA had become too socially exclusive and too disconnected from ordinary citizens. But the underlying structure remains. France continues to operate elite schools. France continues to select a narrow leadership pipeline. France continues to invest heavily in training its governing elite. Each year, hundreds of thousands of students graduate in France. Most walk through the wide door, universities. A small number enter preparatory classes, and even smaller number walk through the narrow door, Grande École. That narrow door does not guarantee leadership, but it has produced a disproportionate share of those who govern the country. France did not leave leadership formation to chance. It built institutions designed to identify leadership early, train it intensively, and integrate it directly into the state and corporate system. In France, leadership is not simply achieved, it is structurally prepared long before it ever existed. This is Global Campus.